Have you ever wondered what Ozzy Osbourne would say if he could come back and talk to fans one more time? Not through old interviews, not through archived footage, but through artificial intelligence. It sounds like science fiction, but it's quickly becoming reality, and it's dividing the rock world. Recently, Ozzy's family announced plans to create an AI-powered digital version of the Prince of Darkness, one that could potentially speak, interact with fans, and preserve his personality long after his passing. Some fans call it a beautiful tribute, others call it disturbing. But the biggest question remains, would Ozzy himself have actually wanted this? Before we dive in, we're building a community here for rock traditionalists, drumheads, and anyone who cares about how the legend actually made his music. Hit subscribe and join the crew so you never miss our deep dives into Ozzy. Now here's where the story gets interesting. According to Ozzy's son, Jack Osbourne, the family had discussed the idea of digital technology and AI with Ozzy before his death. In recent interviews defending the project, Jack claimed that Ozzy would be into this, and revealed that conversations about creating something like an AI version had already taken place. The family insists the project is not simply an image connected to a chatbot, but a sophisticated digital recreation built using approved recordings, video, voice samples, and motion data. But not everyone is convinced. The moment the announcement became public, criticism exploded across social media and rock forums. Fans questioned whether recreating a deceased musician crosses a line that should never be crossed. Was this preserving a legacy or commercializing it? And that's where the debate takes a dramatic turn. Because Ozzy's own history with technology may reveal clues that make this story far more complicated than anyone expected. For decades, Ozzy Osbourne built his reputation on doing the unexpected. From shocking television audiences in the 1970s to reinventing himself through reality television with the Osbournes in the early 2000s, Ozzy rarely ran away from new technology or new ways of connecting with fans. In fact, throughout his career, he embraced innovations that many traditional rock artists initially resisted. That's one reason Jack Osbourne's comments resonated with some fans. According to Jack, the family isn't trying to replace Ozzy or create new music in his name. Instead, they see the AI project as a way to preserve his stories, humor, personality, and unique connection with audiences. Supporters argue that future generations who never had the chance to meet Ozzy could still experience a version of what made him special. But critics point out a major problem. An AI avatar can imitate a person's voice. It can learn speech patterns. It can even recreate mannerisms. Yet, no matter how advanced the technology becomes, can it ever truly capture the unpredictability that made Ozzy, Ozzy? Think about it. Some of the most memorable moments in Ozzy's career happened because nobody, including Ozzy himself, knew what would happen next. His spontaneous interviews, unfiltered reactions, and chaotic sense of humor became part of his legend. Those moments weren't programmed, they weren't calculated, they were human. And that raises a question that has haunted every major AI recreation project so far. Where does authenticity end and simulation begin? The debate isn't just about Ozzy anymore. It's about the future of music itself. Because if technology can preserve one rock legend forever, who's next? As fans wrestle with that question, another surprising piece of Ozzy's past begins to emerge. One that may provide the strongest clue yet about how he would have viewed an AI version of himself. To understand this controversy, you have to understand something about Ozzy Osbourne that many people overlook. Behind the wild headlines and larger-than-life stage persona was a man who often spoke openly about legacy, family, and the future. In his later years, especially as health challenges became more serious, Ozzy frequently reflected on what he would leave behind. Diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and dealing with multiple surgeries and mobility issues, he became increasingly aware that his time in the spotlight was limited. Yet even during those difficult years, Ozzy never completely stepped away from innovation. He continued recording music, embraced streaming platforms, appeared in podcasts, and remained active in digital media. His 2022 album, Patient No. 9, introduced him to younger audiences, while proving that he could still evolve after more than 5 decades in rock. Rather than resisting change, Ozzy often adapted to it. That fact has become one of the strongest arguments from supporters of the AI project. They believe a man who constantly reinvented himself might have viewed AI as just another tool, a new way to keep the conversation going. But opponents see a dangerous precedent. What happens when an AI version starts answering questions Ozzy never actually answered? What if future updates allow it to generate entirely new conversations? Even if every intention is respectful, critics worry that the line between preserving history and rewriting it could become dangerously thin. And here's the part that makes the story so emotional. The people creating the AI version aren't strangers or corporations that barely knew him. They're members of Ozzy's own family, people who spent decades with him behind closed doors. They insist their goal is to protect his legacy, not exploit it. Still, one question remains unanswered. Even if the technology is accurate, even if the family approves, even if millions of fans embrace it, can a digital recreation ever capture the soul of the man who became the Prince of Darkness? That question brings us to the final chapter of this story, and the answer may not be what either side expects. As the debate continues, one thing becomes clear. There may never be a definitive answer to whether Ozzy Osbourne would have fully embraced an AI version of himself. The evidence points in two directions at once. On one hand, Ozzy spent much of his career breaking rules, adapting to new media, and finding unexpected ways to stay connected with fans. His willingness to evolve, from heavy metal icon to reality television star to modern streaming-era artist, suggests he wasn't afraid of change. The fact that Jack Osbourne has publicly stated that conversations about this technology took place before Ozzy's death only strengthens the argument that the project reflects something Ozzy might have supported. On the other hand, the very qualities that made Ozzy legendary were deeply human. His mistakes, his unpredictability, his ability to say something completely unscripted and leave an audience laughing, shocked, or inspired. Those moments weren't generated by algorithms. They came from a lifetime of experiences that no machine can truly duplicate. Perhaps that's why this story resonates far beyond the world of rock music. It's forcing fans to confront a question that society will face more often in the coming years. When technology becomes capable of recreating our voices, personalities, and memories, what part of a person remains impossible to reproduce? For some fans, the AI avatar will be a fascinating tribute. For others, it will always feel like a step too far, and the disagreement itself may be the most fitting tribute to Ozzy imaginable. After all, few artists spent their lives sparking conversation, controversy, and debate quite like the Prince of Darkness. But before we wrap this up, there's one final angle to this story that almost nobody is talking about, and it might completely change how fans view the future of Ozzy's legacy. So, would Ozzy Osbourne have wanted an AI version of himself? The honest answer is that nobody can know with absolute certainty. Ozzy never left behind a public statement specifically outlining how he wanted an AI recreation to be used after his death. What we do know is that his family, especially Jack Osbourne, has said the idea was discussed and that they believe it reflects something Ozzy would have supported. But maybe the bigger question isn't whether the technology exists. Maybe it's what we choose to do with it. An AI avatar can recreate a voice. It can mimic expressions. It can tell stories based on thousands of hours of recordings. But it can never truly replace the feeling of hearing Ozzy perform live, the excitement of a new album release, or the impact he had on generations of musicians who followed in his footsteps. In the end, Ozzy's real legacy was never just his voice. It was the music, the risks he took, the barriers he broke, the millions of fans who found comfort, excitement, and inspiration in his work. And perhaps that's why this debate matters so much. It's not really about artificial intelligence. It's about memory. It's about legacy. And it's about how we preserve the people who helped shape our lives. Whether you see the AI project as a respectful tribute or a controversial experiment, one thing is undeniable. People are still passionately talking about Ozzy Osbourne. Even now, he continues to spark conversations that reach far beyond music itself. And maybe that's the most Ozzy thing of all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Would Ozzy have embraced an AI version of himself, Or should some legends remain untouched by technology? We want to hear from you. And if you're passionate about classic rock, legendary drummers, and the stories behind the music that changed generations, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the crew. Until next time, keep the spirit of rock alive. And remember, legends may leave the stage, but their influence never truly fades.